Hey everybody, Danny Hogger here. Hope you're having an outstanding week. Thank you so much for checking out our show. Are you looking for new and engaging ways to get your students up and moving in the classroom? Get out of the sit and get rut of teaching by checking out ampeduplearning.com, a teacher-owned and operated company in Texas that is looking to gamify teaching with creative new activities for the classroom. From their FREC resources and escape rooms for social studies and science to speed squares and task cards for math and English, they have tons of teacher-created resources. So many good things up there. And don't forget to check out their apparel designed specifically for teachers. Look good and support teachers. That's something I can get behind. Use code HoggerHistory10 to save 10% on all items and follow them on social media at Amped Up Learning for their monthly giveaways of Amazon gift cards, lessons, and apparel. Man, supporting teachers while also supporting teachers, that sounds like something we could really get behind. And don't forget to use that code HoggerHistory10 to save 10% on all items at ampeduplearning.com. What a great way to start. Now, let's move on to the show. Thank you so much.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beam and Danny Hogger as they explore the why of teaching.
Hello, Danny Hogger and Tavis Beam here. How you doing today, Tavis?
I'm doing really good, Danny. It's fun to be back.
So good, man. So good. We're starting that second season. Thanks, everybody, for following us on Twitter at Show Teachers and on Instagram, and all the new YouTube subscribers. The love is felt by us, and we appreciate it. And today, we're sharing that love across the country to Craig Shapiro, and he's a health and physical education teacher at the high school level. Here's a tweet that I feel like sums you up, and you didn't know I was going to do this, Craig, but we sometimes surprise you here.
Okay.
Thought to consider: kindness isn't a one-size-fits-all mantra. We have different ways to show it, but showing it matters most. I love that statement, and that's what prompted me to get in touch with you, and you post a lot of inspiring posts. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I just did that. I just did that tweet. That was recent.
I know. What's cool about the PLN and the networks that we have is occasionally you see a crossover of like one person who was a friend of a friend, right?
Yep.
So for you, I had just talked this morning with Dr. Joseph, and you two interact once in a while. And so it was through that I connected to that tweet. And I'm like, well, haven't I reached out to Craig yet? And we'd love to have a health and PE and teacher on. We'll try to get people from all walks and all subject matters. And so what do you like most about teaching those subjects? And you teach high school, I teach high school. What is that connection for you?
Well, I've taught for 30 years. So, 3 decades of teaching, you learn a lot of things. I started at the elementary level, elementary phys ed, and I loved it. And after about 5 years, I really wanted to coach. And at the elementary level, you don't get those opportunities much because of the time. Mm-hmm. So it just happened to be, keeping it short, that I just got lucky to get this high school position in another state in Pennsylvania. And I've been there for 25 years. Teaching kids about wellness is something that is life-changing. Mm-hmm. And it's not that one subject is more important than the other, but I've always felt that health and phys ed, just by its nature, is something that we do in life all the time. Whether it be exercise or rest or how we eat or our mental outlook on life. And that's all related to the field. So just being in that environment every day, being with kids that actually want to be there, is just so inspiring for me. Every day I go to work and I just say to kids, God, I can't believe somebody's paying me. Because it really is just an unbelievable job. And you get to make a difference. Every day I walk out, I feel like I'm making a difference.
How about this too, for like a bit of profound nature to this, in that if you're doing your job well, you're preparing every future learner of all different walks of study and careers to live a more fulfilled and more healthy life. That's pretty dynamic.
And it's funny. I was on the beach and I met a couple people on the beach, and I was walking off. I started to talk to them. We were talking about teaching, and it was just an interesting conversation about how no matter what career you have, somebody taught you. Like, even if you're not a teacher, you've learned by somebody. So whether it's, health and phys ed or math or science or social studies or any subject area, mm-hmm. just being a teacher has incredible power in the rest of the world. The things that we do each day transform lives. It doesn't matter what the field is.
And that can be such an important thing for us to remember as we're going through our lives as teachers, and we can get caught up in the mundane. We get caught up in our own sense of self, and and getting frustrated with things about that impact that we are really having on a large scale for huge amounts of people over the 30 years or 10 years, 11 years for me. The longer you teach, the more lives that you touch. And it's so wonderful that you're reaching students with health and fitness. I have something similar in that I get to teach wood shop. And every day I ask myself, wow, how did I get this amazing job where I've got these students that want to be here, that are eager to partake in what I am trying to impart on them. It's really a blessing.
But what's interesting about what you said, and it's so true, is obviously I've never watched you teach, but just the fact that you're saying that tells me everything I need to know. Like when I'm writing a book on teaching, and people make it so complicated when it's just not complicated at all. Like really, if you're passionate about your job and you're empathetic and persistent and patient and kind, kids will gravitate towards you.
Right.
It's not some, sorry for my dogs, it's not some really crazy thing. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you love going to work each day speaks volumes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Kyle, can you please just do me a favor, please?
It's funny too, because it's not just kids. The kindness tweet that you had shared on Twitter is what attracted me to get in touch. So it's what adults want too, right?
Yeah.
It's this void of, we like to be around people who are kind to us and who care about our well-being. So that's pretty huge. I have a question for you based on your career and the longevity in that. What is different in wellness or health from your perspective from the 1990s to now?
Well, basically, everything's out there right now. When I was growing up in the fitness field, I was a personal trainer and a teacher, and you had to read a lot because there wasn't really, like, the internet wasn't even around. And if it was starting, there wasn't a lot out there. Now, everybody has access to everything. Like, you can go on YouTube and watch 5,000 videos on fitness and nutrition or exercise. So there's a lot of stuff out there. What I find, at least in my field, is, for me, I try to educate kids on how to just be healthy. And in smart ways, not the new catchphrase, not the new, fad that's going to catch on, but just generally, I look at 4 things, and this is kind of my global view. I look at it as rest, eating healthy, being a mentally positive person, and just how we exercise. And I kind of say, if you do all 4 of them, you're on the right track. I don't know if that was around years ago. It was more like, just reading a magazine or watching something. But now there's just so much information there.
Right.
You got to pick and choose what's right.
Yeah, especially rest. I feel like that's the newest one that's been added to that list.
Well, yeah, because, I have so many analogies, and we don't even have time for them all. But I have so many analogies of, like, you can train right, you can eat right, you can be a confident person. But if you're getting an hour's sleep, something's not going to work right. So you have to kind of blend them all together into, like, a big thing.
And now our minds are constantly being stimulated by our phones, by television, by Netflix. We've always got something in front of us. And we need more time where we're just spending our brains in idle, where our brains just kind of...
Sorry, I missed what you were saying. Repeat that.
I like that. That was good.
We need to spend, and we need to value that. We need to teach that you need to spend time in idle. And when you're working on a wood project or something, you are engaging, but you're also getting that kind of that flow, as they call it, where you lose sense of time, you lose sense of self, and you just get into that thing. Whether it's music, whether it's running, having that is also another form of.
And I would say that one of the issues, I was writing something down, and it made me think, because a chapter I was writing was talking about giving kids options, and a lot of times people will think, well, I teach math, or I teach English, or I teach science, and how do I do that, right? Because, math is a kind of concrete. But again, I've watched amazing math teachers who make everything happen. And then, so it to me, yes, it's true that, like, woodshop lends itself to hands-on. It just does. You're doing a project that's hands-on. But that doesn't mean that any subject can't be that way. Right. I think the teacher is going to be the driving factor in whether kids walk in the class smiling, walk out of the class smiling, or just the opposite. You know, if you have a student coming in and dreading being in that class and then even more leaving, that's not a good thing. It should never be like that.
And then for the teacher, so often I hear like they put that on the student, and
Yeah.
they are responsible for themselves in a way. But I think for a teacher, it is really important for us to have this extreme ownership of every single student in that class, and really making every effort to reach out to those kids. Because I could have 36 kids in my class that all want to be there, and then 37 doesn't want to be there. I need to make that effort to figure out what it is for 37 to make them want to be there.
And that's, I kind of call that the persistent piece.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to have, if you teach long enough, you're always going to have difficult situations, difficult students. You just are. It doesn't matter where you're at.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're persistent and you're empathetic and, you understand that, look, we all have issues. Kids have issues and so do adults.
Right.
So everybody does. And it doesn't mean that we're going to be perfect, but we have to take stock and do a little reflection. And I'm a big believer in reflecting, like say, okay, we don't know what this kid went through.
Right.
This kid comes into class and maybe they're not happy that day. Well, you know what? Maybe they were working until 12 o'clock at night and they got 2 hours of sleep and their parents were arguing. And now we're going to give them a quiz, right?
Right.
And the kid's not ready. And we'll say, well, you got to take the quiz.
Yeah.
Well, no. That's in me, that's poor teaching.
Yeah. And I feel really lucky because I'm in a position now where I can give them that space. I feel like as an I've taught math, I've taught science, I did elementary school, and now I can give them that space. It's like, you had a bad night. Okay, well, let me know how I can help you, and that's okay. Because an elective teacher, we're there to give them a little bit of a breathing room, a little bit of a break from all the work that they've been doing.
Why can't that happen in a regular class?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly the problem. Is that there's a tendency to think that, well, I have the standard I have to meet.
Right.
Or I have to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. That's a bunch of what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care anything about any of that stuff.
Right.
If you make your class a place where kids are going to feel safe, welcome, happy, engaged, they'll be able to get through it. It doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect, and you're going to have to adapt. I mean, I don't care what subject you teach. Isn't the goal, one of the goals for kids to learn?
Yeah.
So if that kid comes into your class and they're not ready to take the test, right?
Yeah.
And you make them take it, and they bomb the test. Well, let's see. We've learned this.
Yeah.
We've learned that you probably shouldn't have given them the test, and we've learned that they bombed the test.
Right.
And guess what?
But that's ownership. That's self-ownership there.
That's right. And that's basically, like, I would much rather, look, I teach health. I give assessments all the time. If that kid comes up to me and says, hey, Mr. Shapiro, you know what? I had a really tough night last night. I didn't have a chance to study. Can I take it the next day? Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're taught responsibility for coming and seeking what you need ahead of time, arranging things. That's what life is like, right?
And what's the worst that happens? Let's say he or she comes home and they don't study, right? So instead of taking the test that day and they don't do well, maybe they come back the next day and don't do well that day. But the point is that we're trying to teach kids ownership of their own lives. And to be honest, I would always want any student that I'm teaching to be honest with me and say, listen, I really studied last night. I'm ready for this test. I'm ready to go. Just the same as I'd want the kid to say, hey, listen, I was really busy last night and I didn't have time to study. No problem. The goal is to learn. I always say, and I believe this, if you're giving a kid an assessment and they don't get it the first time, so what?
Right.
What does that mean? Like when you ride a bike and you fall off, do you just stop trying to ride the bike or you get back on? Well, it's the same thing. It might take that kid 10 times where maybe it took somebody else 1 time. But we try to fit everything into this nice little square where it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that's really good. I tell my students I don't mind when you learned it, just that you did learn it. So we'll keep going with that. We're here on Inspiring Teachers. Danny Hogger, Tavis Beam, Craig Shapiro. Craig, a question. You mentioned your 4 most important facets, your global overview for health. Students today, high school students, what's the one they need to hear the most of, do you find, in your experience? The one part that may be lacking in like a routine that you frequently see? Students need more blank.
I think they need more confidence. I teach a lot. I teach, a lot of health and wellness, and I say to kids, we do a lot of different experiments in class. We'll have kids close their eyes and raise their hands on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident they are in each other, in themselves.
Cool.
That way they're not swayed by somebody. And I'll make a tally mark on the board of how many kids say 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. And we just talk about it, like, because they always say, what are you? And I say, well, I'm a 10. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm arrogant. It just means that I feel confident in my ability as a person. And you should feel confident in that. It's okay. It doesn't mean perfect. Make mistakes, learn from them, don't do them again. And we kind of like, there's this mantra like, well, teenagers are irresponsible. No, they're not. They're teenagers. They're teens, like that just makes me laugh. Like, I think about when I was 16 and now I'm 53. Yeah. Well, I'm not the same person I was, 37 years ago. I'm a little bit different. And even for you guys, you're still young, but you're adults. I guarantee you're not the same as you were as a teenager. No. And we can't treat it as such. We have to teach kids that to be confident, to be passionate, to be willing to make a mistake and not be scared about it.
Yeah. And that it's okay to grow and change as a person over time. Would you say that quality is new in the 30 years that you've been teaching? Do you feel like that they were more confident 30 years ago?
I would say that I just wasn't aware of things as much. As I've taught for a long time, and just writing a lot and talking to other people has really kind of given me pause of what's really important. Most of the stuff, even you see me on Twitter, I think of everything I post as something positive because it's so easy to just get caught up in something that's not. Right. It's just simple to see something or hear something or read something and like, oh my God, I can't believe that person said that. When really I just ignore that stuff. I want kids to be surrounded by positivity and energy. When they walk into your classrooms, what do you want? Like, I greet every kid at the door with a handshake.
Yep. Nice.
Every day, no matter what. And I think, and people might say, well, what is that? And I'm like, I can tell you what it is. It's greeting kids at the door with a handshake. It's immediately showing kids that you care. Great. Once you make a connection with kids, you will boost their confidence. You will help them to be happy that they're there. I don't care what grade you're teaching, what level. Kids are in school for 6 to 8 hours a day. That's a long time. Yeah. That's a long time to be just in one place.
Yeah, send a teacher to one PD for one day where they're sitting in a chair for 6 to 8 hours.
You'll hear about it for a week.
Oh my God.
What I love about what you're saying too is the kindness piece is so well taken care of by our elementary friends, our teachers that are there at that level. And we pretend like in high school they don't need that anymore. You think about when you're about ready to put someone into adulthood without any more school, the one thing I'd like them to be first is kind. Right? Because you'll develop everything else if you've got a willingness to be good to people.
Unfortunately, what that is, that's societal. Like it seems to me that what happens is kids get older, we think that they've developed a skill set to be kind and passionate and empathetic and genuine and look, it's easy I always say cherry picking. It's easy to find the one kid in your class that has it all, right? They got it all. They're funny, they're intelligent, they're hardworking, they ask questions. And then we say, oh, well, that person has it. Yeah, that person might, but it doesn't mean everybody does. We shouldn't, I don't believe in teaching to the highest common denominator and saying, oh, everybody's got to be like this kid. They're all different. And kindness, it never goes out of fashion.
Yeah.
Kind is kind. Yeah. Just smiling and saying good morning. Salutations are, it's just funny. Like when we started our conversation, the first thing we did is say hello. Right? Why would that be any different in a classroom?
There you go. That's a great place. Yeah.
Why would you mean somebody's coming into your class and you're not going to say good morning? Yeah. You're going to sit at your desk? That makes absolutely zero sense.
And I think it's super cliche to say this, but it's true. We don't teach math. We don't teach history. We teach children. We teach students, we teach people. And I've done this. I've been there to teach science, and I'm here to impart my knowledge on you. And that was where I kind of came into teaching, with that mindset that I'm passionate about science, and I'm passionate about passing on my passion. And then it didn't work. I wasn't a very good teacher until I realized, oh no, I'm actually here to teach the kids, and I'm passionate about being with them and teaching them to be a person.
Passionate about the content is kind of like this. So I love exercise. I'm an exercise person. I mean, it's just something that I strongly believe in. If I love exercise, but I can't pass that on to somebody else with my own passion, then what's the point? Maybe good for me, but what about them?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that passionate piece, when you see a passionate teacher, you always know it.
Right.
You always know, because you can see it in the attributes that they bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can't measure passion, but you know when you see it.
That's so true. And Craig, we knew it from the time that I started reading your feed. And I just want to thank you for taking some vacation time to talk with us and share your insights. And we hope we can talk to you again sometime soon.
Oh my God. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for thinking of me, for getting me on your chat. I love what you're doing. I think it's great. Anytime that you can spread a positive message to people, that's awesome. And you're both young guys, so I'm really inspired by the stuff that you're doing.
Very cool. Well, we're inspired by you. We stand at the door to shake your hand and say thank you so much for joining us today.
Virtual shake.
We hope to talk to you real soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Inspiring Teachers Podcast on iTunes, Podbean, and YouTube. And we will see you on the next edition. For now, we'll see you later, and
thank you so much.
Class dismissed.